Okay, so we're going to be doing a few more repairs on this thing. There's these little connectors, kind of like in a computer. If you've ever taken a computer apart before, a lot of times there'll be wires, like there'll be plugs in between something like a hard drive and the motherboard. And all pinball machines usually have connectors like that as well. So sometimes these connectors can get corroded or damaged or dirty or something. That can cause lights to flicker. It can cause the screens to flicker, or it can make the game reset randomly. So, and sometimes another thing that can happen is that they can get hot if they're like damaged and they're not conducting very well. They might get hot and overheat, and sometimes you can tell because the actual plastic housing of the plug will get burned or something, and obviously that's not a good thing. I'm also going to replace the power cord because on the original one that's in here, the grounding prong is missing. I have no idea how that even happens. I mean, come on, these things are made of metal. I mean, look, I can't even pull it off with my hand. So I don't know how the grounding prong gets missing on these things. Unless someone takes a pair of like super Hercules scissors or something and cuts the thing off to make it fit in like a 2-prong outlet.
And none of those are known to exist.
Oh, sometimes in older houses you might have them actually. Also, one more thing. We're going to be replacing some light bulbs. And, well, the reasons should be pretty obvious there. And one more thing. There's also a problem with one of the coils that's like a motor, but instead of turning a shaft, it makes a plunger click in and then pop back out when it turns off. And sometimes it'll be the other way around. But the coils have these little things called diodes on them. They protect them against some kind of like power surge back or something. One of the flippers is making this weird noise, like a popping noise coming out of the speakers. And sometimes pressing and releasing the left flipper button can actually cause a few weird things to happen. And when you get symptoms like that, if it's only on one coil, usually it means there's a bad diode on that one. So we're going to replace that. Okay, the first thing we're going to need is a soldering iron. This is a 25-watt soldering iron by Weller. No, it is not hot right now, obviously. It's not plugged in. And this is the actual solder. It's lead-free, and if you put that right there. This is a solder sucking pump. It's made by Palladian Tools. The soldering iron itself is made by Weller. That's the company. And basically what you do is you take the soldering iron. Let's pretend that this is the solder joint. So basically you heat the wire up with the solder on it that you want to remove. And then you take this thing, you heat the wire up with, or the part that has solder on it that you want to remove, and then you take this and you press this little button here. This thing has to be pushed down. You press this little button in, it makes that noise, and hopefully sucks up the solder as well. Now, soldering isn't the only way to join wires together. You can also crimp them, which brings us to our next tool. The way that we're going to be replacing these connectors is that the first thing we're going to have to do is obviously we'll have to take the old ones off first, but basically you take these little pins. I'll take one out here. I'm probably not going to actually demonstrate the process on video, but basically you take the pin, you put the wire in this end, and you squish it or crimp it while the wire's in there. So this is the little pin, and that's And that's pretty much all you gotta do. And then once you've crimped all the pins that you want to put in the wires, hopefully you got them all in the right socket, or this is going to be or you're not going to be having the pinball machine much longer than that. Once you've done that, you click the pins into this thing. Not sure if they'd like really snap in or whatever, but I guess I'll find out. And as for the part where they mate, this part is going to be soldered to the circuit board, and on any pins that we're probably going to have to cut one or two of these off, because there's some connectors that, well, they all need to be put in the right way, obviously. So if there's any chance of like getting them wrong, you put these little polarizing pins in there and then cut off a pin in the corresponding location. That way they can only go in the socket one direction and not the other. Because if you do that, the machine won't work properly. And if you do that on a circuit board, it might give the circuit board the wrong voltage in the wrong spot, which could actually cause damage. So that would be, what's the word I'm looking for? Bad.